Okay, so you want to deep dive into Canadian politics.
Uh-huh.
You've sent us a bunch of articles and discussions, mostly about Justin Trudeau,
Right.
about whether he's going to step down as Prime Minister
Yeah,
and what that means for the Liberal Party.
for sure. There's a lot of speculation right now.
Yeah, lots of opinions, too.
And strong ones.
Definitely strong opinions.
So we'll try to navigate all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do here.
Help you make sense of it all.
But we want to stick to the facts,
That's right. Focus on the facts.
lay out the different scenarios.
And not take sides.
Exactly, because it's not about our opinion.
Oh, no.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Oh.
We have Chrystia Freeland's resignation,
Big development.
a huge development.
Throws a wrench into everything.
It really does.
You know, for those who need a refresher,
Yeah,
she was the finance minister
right?
and the deputy PM.
Basically, Trudeau's right hand,
Exactly.
and now she's quit.
Publicly.
Publicly disagreed with him.
Yeah. Her resignation letter was a bombshell.
It
More
really
than just a see ya later.
Uh-huh.
It was a very deliberate critique of Trudeau,
Interesting.
especially his economic policies,
I see.
particularly how he's handling or not handling
Yeah.
the threat from President Trump and his tariffs.
Okay, so it's not just about personalities clashing here.
No,
It seems like she's raising serious concerns
absolutely.
that are shared by a lot of people in the Liberal Party.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the Globe and Mail articles you sent,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about this too.
Okay.
Growing number of MPs,
Yeah.
especially from Ontario.
Right.
They're saying Trudeau needs to step down,
They're worried he's not the right person to lead.
especially now with the economy being so shaky.
The timing is definitely not in his favor.
And those concerns, I gotta say, they make sense.
Oh, they do. The U.S. is our biggest trading partner.
Right.
And Trump.
Oh, don't even get me started on Trump.
He's unpredictable, that's for sure.
And any disruption to that relationship with the U.S.,
It could have massive consequences.
for Canada, for everyone,
Yeah, people's jobs, livelihoods,
everything.
the whole economy.
Right. And the U.S. election just adds to that.
It just throws more fuel on the fire.
Creates so much uncertainty.
You just don't know what's coming next.
And meanwhile, Trudeau's off on holiday, right?
Yeah. A Christmas stay in Ottawa, then skiing in BC.
Some people might see that as a bit tone deaf,
I can see that.
given all this political turmoil.
Like he's not taking it seriously enough.
Yeah, like he's fiddling while Rome burns.
But to be fair, even prime ministers need a break,
True, everyone deserves some downtime.
especially around the holidays.
For sure.
But the timing, whether intentional or not,
Yeah.
it just adds to that perception
What perception?
that he's out of touch.
Oh, right.
Out of touch with what Canadians are feeling.
Like he doesn't get how worried people are.
Exactly.
And the big question is,
Will he come back with a decision?
exactly, will we have a new prime minister?
Or will he try to hang on?
And even if he steps down,
The Liberals have a tough road ahead,
they
choosing a new leader.
right, and quickly,
And they're in a minority government situation.
which just complicates things even further.
100%.
So maybe we need to explain that.
Yeah, break it down for people.
Explain how this minority government thing works.
Right, so the Liberals,
They don't have a majority in Parliament,
exactly, they need the support of other parties
like the NDP.
to pass laws to actually govern.
And without that support,
they're kind of stuck.
they can't get anything done.
And to make things even more interesting,
Oh boy, what now?
the NDP just announced
Uh-oh.
they're withdrawing their support.
You're kidding.
Nope,
That's a huge blow to Trudeau.
it is.
Makes an election seem pretty much inevitable
It definitely weakens his position.
and increases the chances of an election, for sure.
Now, some people think, and this is where it gets strategic,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
they think the NDP actually want Trudeau to stay on
Wow, really? Why?
because they think he's a liability for the Liberals.
Like he's become unpopular
Exactly. They think they can win the next election
by running against him.
by campaigning on a platform of anyone but Trudeau.
That's a risky move, though,
It is.
for the NDP.
What if the Liberals win again?
It could backfire spectacularly.
Absolutely, but that's politics.
High risk, high reward.
It's exactly.
But it shows just how volatile things are.
Oh, yeah, Trudeau's under pressure.
From his own party.
I'm the opposition,
It's like he's in a pressure cooker.
with the heat turned way up.
So we've got Trudeau's future up in the air.
Yeah.
The Liberals scrambling to figure out their next move.
Right?
And the NDP maybe playing some high-stakes poker.
It's a fascinating time to be following Canadian politics.
It is. So much is happening.
And the outcome is anyone's guess.
Let's say Trudeau does step down.
Okay, let's play that scenario out.
What happens then?
Well, the Liberals need a new leader,
Fast.
and they've got two main options.
Lay them on me.
A full leadership race. Or appointing an interim leader.
From their existing MPs.
Right, from their caucus.
So what are the pros and cons of each?
Well, a full leadership race, it's more democratic.
Gives everyone a chance
To make their case.
to see who has the best ideas.
Exactly, but it takes time.
How much time?
At least 4 months.
To organize everything, hold a convention.
And that's a problem, isn't it?
It is. We don't have 4 months.
Not with the U.S. election looming.
And all this economic uncertainty.
Canada needs a leader now.
Not in 4 months.
A leadership race would probably mean suspending Parliament.
Until a new leader is chosen.
Which just adds another layer of complexity.
It's like hitting the pause button on the government.
At the worst possible time.
So maybe a full leadership race is too risky?
Too slow, too disruptive.
What about appointing an interim leader then?
It's faster, for sure.
You just pick someone from the existing caucus?
And they step in as a temporary leader.
Keeps the government running.
Without any major interruptions.
But it's not a perfect solution, is it?
It has its downsides.
Like what?
It might not be seen as legitimate.
By everyone.
By other potential leaders.
Who might feel they deserve a shot.
It could create resentment.
Division within the party.
And it might not project the image of stability.
That Canada needs right now.
Exactly. We need someone who looks like a leader.
Someone who can handle the pressure.
Someone who can make tough decisions.
So it's a tough choice.
No easy answers.
But let's say they go with a full leadership race.
Okay.
Who are the contenders?
Besides Chrystia Freeland,
We know she's considering a run.
but who else is out there?
You mentioned some other names?
Yeah, there are a few people being talked about.
Like who?
Well, there's Dominic LeBlanc.
Okay, tell me about him.
He's a seasoned politician.
Long history in the party.
Served in various cabinet positions.
He's the current finance minister, right?
He is. Took over after Freeland left.
So he's
He's
experienced.
very experienced.
Knows how things work.
And he's well respected.
Seems like a safe choice.
It's a steady hand on the wheel.
But is that what Canada needs right now?
Someone who represents the status quo.
Maybe we need someone bolder.
Someone who'll shake things up.
Someone like...
Melanie Joly.
Yes. She's been mentioned a lot.
She's relatively young.
Seen as a rising star.
Held several high-profile positions.
Foreign affairs minister. Right now.
That's right.
She's charismatic.
Articulate, connects well with younger voters.
But does she have the experience?
That's the question.
Especially in economic matters.
Can she handle the pressure of negotiating with Trump?
That's a big test for anyone.
It is.
And then there are...
A couple of other names worth mentioning.
Okay, give me the rundown.
François-Philippe Champagne.
Champagne, okay.
He's held various ministerial positions.
Including innovation minister.
And he's got a strong background in economics.
So he understands the issues.
He does.
And then there's Anita Anand.
The current transport minister.
What are her strengths?
She's known for her competence.
Gets things done.
Seen as a problem solver.
Someone who can find solutions.
Exactly.
There's got LeBlanc,
The steady hand.
Joly, the rising star,
Champagne, the economic expert.
and Anand, the problem solver.
It'll be fascinating to see who else jumps in.
And how they position themselves.
How they try to stand out.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up.
It's going to be a wild ride.
That's for sure.
Okay, so we've covered Trudeau's uncertain future,
Mm-hmm.
the NDP's power play,
Definitely a bold move.
and the potential contenders for the Liberal leadership.
A lot of talent in that pool.
But there's another piece of this puzzle
Oh, yeah.
that we need to talk about.
And it's a big one.
The impact of all this on Canada's relationship,
With the U.S.
our biggest trading partner, our closest ally.
But things haven't been easy lately.
Colorful is one way to put it.
Especially with Trump back in charge.
Those trade wars, those tense negotiations.
It felt like we were on the brink of something.
And now, with all this uncertainty in Canada,
It's like walking a tightrope.
one wrong step and everything could fall apart.
A weakened Trudeau. A potential leadership change.
It makes Canada look less stable,
To outsiders, for sure.
and a less stable Canada.
Might be easier for Trump to push around.
On trade deals, security, anything really.
If he senses weakness,
He'll exploit it, no question.
that's how he operates.
It's like we're sending a signal,
That we're not a united front.
and that's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
But there's also the Chrystia Freeland factor.
Ah, yes, the wild card.
If she becomes leader,
Things could get interesting.
she stood up to Trump during the NAFTA renegotiations.
Didn't back down.
A lot of Canadians saw that as a victory,
Proof that we could handle him.
that we wouldn't be bullied.
Exactly. So imagine Prime Minister Freeland.
Sitting across from President Trump.
It wouldn't be easy.
But it wouldn't be a pushover situation either.
She's tough. She's experienced.
She knows how to play the game.
And she's not afraid of him.
So a Freeland leadership,
Could mean a more assertive Canada.
at least when it comes to the U.S.
We wouldn't be taking any nonsense.
But let's not forget about the possibility of an election.
A snap election.
What if we're in the middle of a campaign?
And Trump starts making demands.
Or imposing tariffs?
We'd be in a tough spot.
A caretaker government?
Has limited power.
Can't make big
He
decisions?
can't really negotiate.
We'd be caught with our pants down.
Not the best look.
A vacuum of leadership?
When we need it most.
This is all sounding pretty grim.
There are definitely challenges.
But are there any bright spots?
There are always opportunities.
Even in the middle of
For
chaos,
some sectors of the economy.
this could be a chance to rethink things.
To find new paths to growth.
Like what? Give me an example.
Renewable energy.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
A new liberal leader
Who's focused on climate change?
could create a boom in that industry.
Government incentives? Investments in green technology?
Pushing for clean energy solutions.
We could become a global leader in sustainability.
A win for the environment.
And win for the economy.
Exactly.
And let's not forget about buying local.
With all this talk of trade wars and tariffs,
Canadians might be more inclined.
to support Canadian businesses,
It's a natural response.
to feeling like your country is under attack.
You want to rally around the flag?
So it could be a boost for Canadian companies,
Less reliance on the U.S.?
building up our domestic market.
So maybe it's not all doom and gloom,
Not necessarily.
but there are risks,
Real risks.
especially for industries that rely on trade with the U.S.
Manufacturing, agriculture.
They're deeply integrated with the U.S. economy.
Any disruption could have a ripple effect.
And what about energy?
Oil and gas.
Huge exports for Canada.
We've already seen tension with the U.S.,
Over pipelines, energy policy,
with Trump pushing for American energy independence.
Canadian energy companies are going to have to adapt.
Be agile, be innovative.
Okay, so we've looked at the potential impact
On Canada's global standing,
and on our economy.
the big picture stuff.
But what about the human side of this story?
How are Canadians feeling?
With all this uncertainty, all this drama,
It's a mixed bag.
but I imagine there's a lot of anxiety.
A lot of unease.
People are bombarded with news.
Economic instability, political infighting.
Global tensions, it's overwhelming.
It is.
And for people who are already struggling,
to make ends meet.
with inflation rising, cost of living skyrocketing,
It feels like the ground is shifting under their feet.
it's a breeding ground for disillusionment
People lose faith in their leaders.
in the system, in the future.
And that's dangerous for any democracy.
We need our leaders to step up,
To offer hope, to offer direction.
but we also need to remember,
That democracy is a two-way street.
we can't just sit back and expect them to fix everything.
We need to be engaged.
Informed, active participants.
Our voices matter.
Our votes matter.
This is our country.
We need to shape our own future.
Don't get cynical. Don't turn inwards.
That's when we need to be most engaged.
Hold our leaders accountable.
This is a call to action.
Get involved. Speak up. Make your voice heard.
Complacency is the enemy of progress.
We need to be vigilant, informed, engaged.
If we want to build a better future.
A future worthy of our hopes and aspirations.
Okay, so we've explored the impact of this political drama
On Canada's place in the world.
on our economy.
And on us as Canadians.
It's been a whirlwind tour,
A lot to take in.
but one figure keeps emerging.
As a central character in all of this,
Chrystia Freeland.
her resignation has changed everything.
She's gone from being Trudeau's right hand.
To his potential rival.
It's a story that has captivated the nation.
A story of intrigue, ambition, idealism.
So let's dive a little deeper.
Into the Chrystia Freeland enigma.
What are her motivations?
What does she stand for?
What kind of leader would she be?
Her resignation letter was pretty scathing
A direct attack on Trudeau,
on his economic policy.
on his handling of the U.S.,
It felt like a clash of visions
a fundamental disagreement.
about the direction of the country.
Did she resign purely out of principle?
Or was there a strategic element to her timing?
You're suggesting
She might have seen an opportunity
to position herself as the alternative.
to present herself as the solution.
It's a bold move.
No question.
But even if there was strategy involved,
It doesn't negate the substance of her critique.
her concerns about the economy are real.
And they're shared by many Canadians.
So let's set aside the speculation
For a moment,
and focus on what we know about her.
about her values, her beliefs.
What kind of Canada does she envision?
She's a self-described progressive,
A strong advocate for social justice.
equality, human rights.
She believes in the power of government.
to create a more just and equitable society.
She's also a strong supporter of multilateralism,
International cooperation
working with other countries.
to address global challenges.
Climate change, poverty,
She's a fierce defender of free trade,
but she's nuanced in her approach.
recognizes that trade deals need to be fair.
Protect workers' rights, environmental standards.
She's a blend of idealism and pragmatism.
Not a rigid ideologue.
Adapts her approach to the situation
And her personal experiences have shaped her.
profoundly.
You're talking about her Ukrainian heritage.
Her grandparents fled Ukraine during World War II.
That's a powerful story.
It's instilled in her a deep appreciation for democracy.
Freedom, human rights.
It gives her a unique perspective
Especially now, with the war in Ukraine.
and the rise of authoritarianism,
It also connects her to a large community.
the Ukrainian-Canadian community.
Okay, so we have a sense of her values.
Of her background, her worldview,
Now the big question,
what kind of leader would she be?
if she became prime minister,
Based on her track record?
I'm guessing she'd be pretty tough.
Strong, decisive, articulate,
Not afraid to take risks.
or to challenge the status quo.
A tough negotiator.
But fair, pragmatic.
And she's shown she can handle pressure.
Stand up to bullies.
That's a pretty important quality these days.
It is.
She's also shown a willingness to listen,
To build consensus.
but she's not afraid to make tough decisions.
To stand her ground.
She's a complex figure.
A steady in contrast.
A progressive who's also a pragmatist.
A tough negotiator who's also a skilled diplomat.
Her rise is a reminder.
That politics is full of surprises.
It's a story that's still being written.
And the next chapter.
Could be the most dramatic yet.
Stay tuned.
We'll be watching closely
And we'll be back,
to break it all down for you
as always,
so you can make sense of it all.
and understand what it means for you.
And for Canada.
And for the world.
It's a lot.
Oh, we'll be here to guide you through it.
We'll be your Sherpas.
Through the treacherous mountain passes of Canadian politics.
Stay tuned.
It really feels like we're at a turning point.
Yeah.
Not just in Canadian politics,
Okay.
but globally. I mean,
It's a crazy time to be alive.
it is so many huge issues.
Like what?
Climate change, economic uncertainty.
The rise of authoritarianism.
All these things are interconnected.
They are. It's like a giant tangled web.
And in times like these,
Yeah.
the world looks to countries like Canada.
We have a reputation, right?
We do, as a voice of reason.
A champion for human rights.
A peacemaker.
But can we still play that role?
That's the question.
With all this turmoil on the home front,
A divided country.
a weakened leader,
Or even a brand new one.
it makes us look less reliable.
On the world stage, definitely.
Like we might not be able to follow through,
on our commitments.
or that our priorities could change overnight.
Imagine you're another country,
Yeah.
trying to decide whether to partner with Canada.
It's a big project.
You see all this political drama.
Yeah.
You have to wonder
If we're a stable partner,
if we can be trusted.
it's like those nature documentaries
Oh, yeah.
where a pack of predators
We sense weakness,
and they start circling.
trying to figure out how to exploit the situation.
It's not quite that dramatic,
Yeah. Anyway,
but the analogy holds
a less stable Canada.
is a less influential Canada
We might not have the same clout.
on issues like climate change.
Trade negotiations, humanitarian aid.
So it's not just about us.
No.
A weakened Canada has ripple effects.
Across the world,
We could lose our seat at the table,
when important decisions are being made.
and that's bad for everyone.
Not just for Canada.
Okay, so a lot at stake here.
A lot riding on this.
But let's bring this back to you.
So the listener,
We've thrown a lot of information at you.
about Trudeau, Freeland, the Liberals,
The NDP, the economy, the U.S.
Canada's role in the world.
It's been a whirlwind.
A deep dive, for sure.
So what does this all mean for you?
What are the key takeaways?
What should you be thinking about?
As you follow this political drama,
First of all,
pay attention to the leadership question.
is Trudeau staying or going?
It's going to have a huge impact,
On Canada's direction.
domestically and internationally.
Think about which potential leader,
Aligns best with your values.
what kind of Canada do you want to see
Who do you trust to lead us?
into this uncertain future
Secondly, don't underestimate your own power.
as a citizen?
Read beyond the headlines.
Challenge your own assumptions.
Participate in the conversation.
Your voice matters.
Your vote matters.
This is your democracy.
Don't take it for granted.
And lastly, remember that politics,
It's not just an abstract game.
it have real-world consequences.
For all of us,
These decisions affect your job,
your health care, your children's education,
the environment we all share.
stay informed,
Stay engaged,
and stay hopeful.
because even amidst all this uncertainty.
There's always the possibility of positive change.
This could be a moment for Canada
To redefine itself.
to emerge stronger, more resilient,
It's a time for bold ideas.
courageous leadership.
A renewed commitment to our values.
We hope this deep dive
Has given you a better understanding
of what's at stake.
of the forces at play.
It's a complex landscape.
But by staying informed and engaged,
You can be part of shaping Canada's future.
thanks for joining us
We'll continue to monitor this story.
and bring you updates as they develop.
Until next time,
Stay curious.
and stay engaged.
We've talked about the impact on Canada, on our economy.
Our place in the world.
But let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about Chrystia Freeland.
Yeah, she's the wild card in all of this.
Her resignation.
It's really shaken things up.
She's gone from being Trudeau's closest ally.
To his potential rival.
It's a story that's grabbed everyone's attention.
It has. It's like a political thriller.
So let's dig a little deeper.
Okay, I'm ready.
What makes Chrystia Freeland tick?
What are her motivations?
What does she actually stand for?
What kind of leader would she be?
I mean, her resignation letter,
It's pretty harsh.
a direct attack on Trudeau's policies.
On his handling of the U.S.,
It felt like a real clash of visions
like they just fundamentally disagree.
about where Canada should be going.
So was it all about principle?
Did she resign purely because of her beliefs?
Or was there some strategy involved?
Was this a calculated move?
You're thinking
She saw an opportunity
to position herself as the alternative.
to present herself as the solution.
I mean, it's a bold move.
It is, no question.
But even if there was strategy involved,
It doesn't mean her concerns aren't valid.
her worries about the economy.
They're shared by a lot of Canadians.
So let's put the speculation aside for a moment
Okay.
and focus on what we know about her.
About her values, what she believes in.
What kind of Canada does she want to see?
Well, she calls herself a progressive.
I've heard that.
She's a big advocate for social justice.
Equality, human rights,
She believes in the power of government
to make things fair.
to create a more just society,
She's also a big supporter of multilateralism
working with other countries.
to solve global problems.
Climate change, poverty, you name it.
She's also a strong defender of free trade.
But she's not naive about it.
She knows there are downsides
She wants trade deals that are fair,
that protect workers.
that don't harm the environment.
So she's a mix of idealism and pragmatism.
She's not an ideologue,
She adapts to the situation.
and her own life experiences have shaped her.
You're talking about her family history.
Her grandparents fled Ukraine during World War II.
That's a powerful story
It's given her a deep appreciation
for democracy, for freedom.
for human rights,
It gives her a unique perspective.
especially now with the war in Ukraine.
And the rise of authoritarianism around the world.
It's a reminder of what's at stake,
And it connects her to a community,
a large and influential one.
the Ukrainian-Canadian community,
Okay, so we've got a sense of her values.
of where she comes from.
Yeah, the big question,
What kind of leader would she be?
if she became prime minister? Well, based on what we've seen.
I'm guessing she wouldn't be a pushover.
She's strong, decisive, articulate,
Not afraid to take risks.
to challenge the status quo,
A tough negotiator.
but also fair, pragmatic,
And we've seen her handle pressure.
stand up to bullies.
That's a pretty important quality these days.
It is
And she's shown a willingness to listen.
to build consensus,
But she also knows when to stand her ground.
to make the tough calls.
She's a fascinating person.
A complex character,
A mix of different qualities.
a progressive who's also a pragmatist.
A tough negotiator who can also be a diplomat.
Her potential rise to power.
It's a reminder that in politics,
Anything is possible.
it's a story that's still being written.
And we can't wait to see what happens next.
So there you have it, folks.
Our deep dive into Canadian politics.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Explored a lot of different angles.
But one thing is clear.
This is a pivotal moment for Canada.
Trudeau's future is uncertain.
The Liberal Party is in turmoil.
The NDP is making bold moves.
And Chrystia Freeland is a force to be reckoned with.
So what does it all mean?
That's up to you to decide.
We've given you the information.
The different perspectives.
Now it's time for you to form your own opinion,
To engage in the conversation.
to make your voice heard.
This is your democracy.
And the future of Canada is in your hands.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll be back soon with more analysis,
More insight.
more of the stories that matter,
Until then, stay informed, stay engaged.
and stay curious.